All right, we now welcome on a very special guest. It is Chris Long, two-time Super Bowl champ, the 2018 Walter Payton Man of the Year in the National Football League. Now, Chris, before we get started, this interview was set up by a guy on Twitter with the burner account name Byron Maxwell. And when you found out his name was Brent, how disappointed were you?
Well, I wasn't disappointed. It was just like meeting the Wizard of Oz. It was like meeting the wizard. You know, it's not, you can't top. It's funny, people's AVIs, they can kind of just melt and you don't see them, or they can just stick in your head. And every time that person's, ever tweets you, you have a laugh. And that's what's been going on with Brent's AVI, which is Byron Maxwell. Of course, isn't it the Crying Jordan?
No, it's the Byron with the burnt toast as the
burnt avatar. Toast. Yes, it's even better. So every time he tweets at me, I'm just like blown away that a guy either loves or hates Byron Maxwell enough to dedicate his profile picture like 5 years after he left Philly to Byron Maxwell.
I mean, he's an icon. We can agree on that.
There's no denying that.
We can agree on that. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Brent, you sent Chris a very sad, long Instagram DM after you retired, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring that one off air. But
shit, what did you say, dude? Do you remember? Did you say did you say nice things or bad things?
It's pretty. So I haven't read it since I sent it, but I remember waking up the next morning. It was it was all nice things. It was too nice. It was like, damn, why did I send Chris Long a drunk Instagram DM last night? But it's better than DMing someone else. It was just like, I just sent an emotional DM to Chris Long.
Dude, it's okay, man. Like, that was an emotional couple days for me. And like, just to have people even hit me up and being bummed I was leaving. You're bummed that people are bummed, but you're kind of like low-key happy they're bummed because you're like, oh, this is cool.
Mad.
No, I mean, you're never mad if people show that they actually care about you. It's cool. So like, one of the coolest things in my whole career was actually like retirement, because people say things about you they didn't say before, which is like, it's like a funeral, man. It's like being alive for your funeral. It's kind of cool.
I look forward to that then, that day that comes.
All the nice things people say. They don't say shit to you your entire life, and they say nice things to you. But don't worry, I don't remember the message, Brent.
I don't even think you read it.
Okay, that's good.
That's great. That's not.
I'll
good.
go
That's
back.
Great.
You want me to go back today? I'll go back today.
Maybe when we get off here. No, okay. I'm good.
Offline.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, Chris, that's the thing. Like, with the retirement, of course, your brother Kyle is now a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. He comes out of retirement here in Indy. Jared Veldier, the left tackle, he came out of retirement the first time to come back here with the Colts. Colts get eliminated from the playoffs. He signs with the Packers, can't play because he has COVID.
Oh.
In the last year or so, has that itch ever come back to you in any way?
It has. I mean, it does from time to time. I think anybody who's retired would be lying if they said it didn't. It's kind of it's in your DNA. If you played till you're 35, like, to decide to do that for that long, it means there's something about it that just is it pulls you in. So listen, the thing that keeps me away is Monday through Saturday, is all the bullshit, the politics of being in a building, the meetings. It just got repetitive, and eventually, when I started to question, am I enjoying this for the first time? Like, I said, I got to get out of here. And that's not Philly. I got to get out of football. And I picked the right time, man, because I went out before it got a little worse, I guess.
Well, so you said, get out of a certain building. Are you talking about a certain burning building?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that place. Like, I'm really not. Like, when I said burning building, the thing about it was, and I think about this sometimes I feel bad about saying that.
No.
Because at the time, the building was on fire. You can put fires out. Like, that's what, I think was inherently wrong with my statement, was not couching it as they can put the fire out, but it's on fire right now. The building was on fire at the time. Now, I'm not talking about my retirement. My retirement came with when I got to a point where I wasn't sure if I was willing to do the work to get to Sunday. Like, that's a real conversation you have to have with yourself. And that was because I was I was wanting to still be a guy that played 30, 40 snaps a game. Like, that's the way I love football. I love it in volume. I love like getting in a rhythm. I think when you're in a rhythm, you have a better opportunity to make plays. But, you know, and I don't blame people. When you get older, they want to treat you like an older guy. And eventually that shit got old. And that's how I ended up where I ended up. That's not a Philly thing. That would have happened anywhere, I think.
What's one thing about retirement so far that maybe you thought would go one way or another that's been a little different?
Man, damn, let's see. That I actually love being away from it. Like, I really do. I thought I was afraid of it. I think any player that plays a really long time becomes part of who you are, as I just, you know, tipped you guys on. But like, the problem is when it like becomes the entire person, that's when you have a hard time getting away from the game. So I always tried to keep like, you know, other interests. I tried to stay grounded. I tried to spend time at home. I didn't try to just live primarily in the city where I played, like, because I knew that when, you know, the music stops, if you don't have a home base, if you don't have interests outside of football, if you don't have plans, you don't have to plan your whole life out. But if you don't have an idea of what you want to do, you might be fucked. And that's what you see a lot with guys. And I was always very afraid of that. So retiring and seeing the other side of the door and being like, I'm okay with the silence, the inactivity, the being bored. The one thing I feared for a long time, I'm good with it. And that was a surprise to me.
I just listened to your interview with Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. I mean, I didn't really expect like a lot of the answers from him. He seemed like genuinely at peace to kind of just, you know, slowly say goodbye to his football career. Was that something that not necessarily you were surprised about, but is that something that it was easy for you to kind of let go pretty immediately?
I still haven't fully let go. I think like I'd be lying. Like, I'm doing well. I'm doing better than I ever thought I'd do. You know, there was a point kind of halfway through my career when people were starting to talk about concussions and head trauma, and, you know, you mix all that with the existential crisis of like, who are you? What's your purpose? You go from a building that's lively every day, 53 dudes that are like your best friends, to a quiet household. You know, even if you have a wonderful family, that's an adjustment. All that stuff scared the shit out of me. So, you know, I guess I guess I mean to say I'm way ahead of where I thought I'd be, but I still haven't let it go fully. Like, I think the hardest thing you have to like conquer in retirement is your ego, because even if you're like a super humble dude or whatever, like if people think like, oh, he's a pretty humble guy, I still have an ego. Like, ego played into part of the reason why I didn't want to play football anymore, because I wanted to play football more. You know what I mean? So that's just the reality. Part of what makes you a competitor is that. And, you know, when you turn on the TV on Sunday, you still think you can make plays. So you got to let go of that. And you got to get over your career, whatever your regrets were. You care way more about your regrets and your career and shortcomings than anybody else does. And I think that's the biggest thing I would tell some guy that's retiring and struggling with it. Well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Hey, I have bad news for you, but it's also good news. Nobody gives a shit about you except you. And so like, that's the best advice I give to somebody who's retiring. And like, it's scary. Get over yourself. And I'm still working on getting over myself. You know what I mean? I still have things that I marinate on, piss me off, but
I mean, the good news for you is that I know of a certain front office that could use your assistance if you were ever
Listen, man, I don't know if that burning building quote got back to Howie or Jeffrey. I mean, I sure don't mind those guys at all, man. But I don't have any interest. Not that anybody's actually asking me.
Like, please?
Like, I have zero interest in being anywhere near an NFL building unless I was like playing on the field with 60,000 people. Like, and I don't have interest in that. What I'm saying is like, if that wasn't enough for me, it damn sure ain't enough for me to work like those hellacious hours that they have our boy Connor in there working. Barwin.
I was gonna ask about Connor Barwin. You guys are definitely cut from the same cloth. So
I love CB. He's a good dude. I take that as a compliment because I admire him, dude. He's a great player. But we climbed Killy together. Like, we've done cool stuff off the field. And I just think like the thing I like about him is he's thoughtful. He you know, he really thinks through his stances and, you know, things that he wants to lend his hand to. Like I love the stuff he does in the city in Philly with the cityscapes and the playgrounds. And I just like that he's passionate about what he does. He's not just doing it to check a box. Connor's good people.
He did it from day one too. You know, like when he got to Philly, he was like, look, I'm not even from Philadelphia, but I just know like how the community works. My dad's from Philadelphia. That's how I kind of inherited the Eagles. But yeah, with him and with you, I always thought that you guys were both from day one very involved in the community, which is obviously awesome to see. And I know you're with Boston and St. Louis as well.
Yeah, but you know, like Connor had a lot to do with that, dude. Like when I asked Connor, when I forgot about this, but CB was going to LA and I had come from St. Louis a year before. So he had a bunch of questions about, you know, people in that building, what's it like, etc. So I'm telling him what's it like to play with Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers. He's telling me what Fletcher Cox is like. He's telling me what these guys are like that I'm about to play with. And he's also telling me like about the city. And that was like almost the first thing he said was like, you are going to love this city. And it couldn't be like more true. Hold on, sorry guys. Let me adjust my chair. My back's kind of fucked up. Not like that. I'm not like dying or anything.
Gotta get you a massage, man.
Yeah. Well, don't be like, hey, I was on a podcast with Chris Long and he's not doing well. His back is hurt. It's just
that
it's
might
like,
be the
maybe that's
it's
not,
like it's like it's like typical dad shit, okay? But you know, CB led with the city thing, man, and it couldn't be more true. Like I played 8 years in St. Louis. I love that place to death. Like they took care of me. They like when I was called a bust for 2 years, when, you know, we were 1-15, you know, like when I was hurt, when I wasn't worth a shit, when I was on top, like St. Louis was my anchor. And when football left there, I knew that when I retired, I got nothing, dude. Like I can go back there and hang out with my buddies and I can still enjoy St. Louis, but it's not a football home. And Boston was cool, but like I didn't live in the city, you know, and you were part of a machine. So like I was like a mercenary up there. I loved it. Awesome teammates, awesome place, like respect that organization so much. But I was a hired gun, dude. And when I left, it was like, man, this Philly place could be like my NFL home, you know, if I like it. And it just very organically happened where I was like, this city, like it was the perfect place for me. Like I'd never lived downtown. I'd never enjoyed a city like that. And the people were just like right up my alley. And I guess I was kind of up their alley because we hit it off. So
I thought it worked. I mean, it was a great fit. So I guess what I wanted to ask was, obviously things were a little bit different going into that 2017 season when you signed. Where were the main differences? Because Carson was good as a rookie, but he wasn't like a promising, like he wasn't, you know, we liked what we saw, but he wasn't like a slam dunk. We weren't expecting what he actually was that year.
Yeah.
So what made you want to sign besides all like the city stuff, like about the team?
Yeah. Hey, Reed, will you kill that AC? It's like blowing right on top of my fucking head, dude. Thanks. Thanks, brother. It's like 85 yesterday. I forgot to turn on the AC and we overdid it a little bit. I'll give you a good answer on this.
That was the biggest one that I honestly.
Great question, Brent.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man, I'm freezing my ass off in this chair. So honestly, it was funny when I was getting ready for the Super Bowl, watching tape of the Falcons, because we were playing them, right? 28-3 game. The one team that stood out to me and was like, those guys have fun and they fly around and they do what I did for 8 years in St. Louis, like slight differences in the scheme, but you know, we played 9 technique, we flew off the ball, and we played more like tarantula, which was like a 4-eye. So I was like playing in a wide 3 technique on first and second down, and then we'd have like a 9 on the other end. That would usually be Robert Quinn. but Jim Schwartz's defense was Jeff Fisher's, like from a standpoint of, and so for a guy that was sitting in a meeting room getting ready to like two gap kind of, and, you know, play inside and not get off the ball, it just stood out to me. And I was like, man, that looks fun. I didn't think in my mind, like I want out or like, that's what I have to do next year. But when free agency hit, I was like, man, I would love to play with, you know, Vinny Curry. As funny as that sounds to you guys, like, you know, Vinny Curry, Brandon Graham, who at the time was not as hot a commodity like nationally because he hadn't made that play yet or whatever. But I've respected BG since like the first time 54 BG. Like, you know, and obviously Fletcher, who I didn't mention because the first thing I didn't want to say was like, I didn't want to be like, yeah, just there's so many ways you can sound funny saying I'd love to play with, you know, it's the Jersey thing.
Yeah. Oh, the long Cox thing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so like BG, Fletch, Vinny, down to like Bo, they look like a fun group. And in St. Louis, I was on like the baddest group in the fucking league. And like we were just, and I missed that. Like New England, we were a unit. The whole defense was a unit. But in St. Louis, we were like this room of like bullies, dude. And I missed that. And I saw that a little bit in Philly.
Chris, let's talk a little bit about the Chris Long Foundation. Of course, Waterboys providing good, clean water to those in need out in Africa. What has the pandemic done to kind of, has there been any change you've had to make, any decision making in kind of the strategy of pursuing that goal?
It's hard, man, because it's a tough time to ask people for money. One, you know, it's like, I know people are struggling. I know it's been a long year, and it's easy for me to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm good as long as my family's healthy, you know, because I have the means and everything, and I'm not living check to check. So a lot of our donors at the foundation and at Waterboys are, you know, in that $1 to $5 range. And so like, sure, like the dude that in one donation might get you a well is going to still be there. Where's the backbone of our operation? So it was scary to think like maybe it's just going to grind to a halt, but people have stayed resilient and they've stayed compassionate and empathetic. And we have been able to launch new initiatives like the last couple of years, you know, like Water for Her, which my wife, Meg, recently, my lovely wife, Meg, right? Cowboy Reed, my producer back here. I can't say in this studio. If I say my wife, I say my lovely wife. She didn't make that rule. I made it. She started an initiative called Water for Her. You know, a lot of the clean water crisis centers around, you know, being a gender issue. Like a lot of the burden in sub-Saharan Africa, where you mentioned that we work, falls on the shoulders of women and girls when it comes to gathering water. And so we have been able to mobilize 100,000 women in the US to empower 100,000 women in East Africa. That's the goal. We're off to a great start. We launched that on International Women's Day. We've been able to do Hometown H2O, which is our domestic initiative, because people, when they meet you, they're always like, well, what about America? Totally get it. What are we doing here? We've got our own problems here, but the solutions are not the same. Like we do large solar powered wells in East Africa. They cost $53,000, including overhead, admin costs. But what you have to realize is these large tanks are going to service communities of 5,000 to 7,000 people. So a lot of the work we do here domestically, you know, you're not putting a big community well in, you're fixing problems for, you know, a cul-de-sac of families, or, you know, we're working on Navajo Nation, you know, where they have 17 times a higher rate of not being able to access clean water. I mean, that's insane in a pandemic. So we have like launched all these little silos inside of Waterboys, all in a pandemic, and all with people hurting for cash. And I know that they have to be more responsible or think about like how they donate their money. And I just appreciate that. It's like, man, this year has just reinforced to me where there's so much negativity, and a lot of it is very, you know, well worth talking about. A like it has reinforced that there's a lot of good in people, because those checks have continued to show up, man. And those checks are showing up for people halfway around the world a lot of times. So like, I'm just really blown away by, you know, how good some of the people are who support us, and I'm appreciative.
That's awesome. How would
Yeah.
you rate your Twitter game?
Like a 7.5, maybe, like
That's
seven
it?
and a half. Yeah,
No.
No way.
Dude, I had a gap. When you took a hiatus, I was like upset about it.
Really?
That's how you know you have a great Twitter game, is because a guy who pretty much lives on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like when there was like a known absence when you were
What's
gone.
wrong
I knew
with
you were coming
us?
back.
What's wrong with us living on Twitter? That's the thing, man. Like, that's maybe why I'm like downplaying it, because I hate the version of me that's sitting there on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's good. Maybe it's good, and maybe people like the account, but like behind it a lot of times, it's kind of like, oh, fuck, I gotta send this tweet.
Yeah, but you've
Like,
I feel like gotten better at just like not even getting mad, just laughing at stupid people.
Thank you. I've been working on that.
I mean, just being real. Like I always used to see you getting like chirping with dumb people, like, you know, Byron Maxwell Twitter accounts, whoever runs.
That's how
those.
you're not dumb, but that's how we met, because I do interact with people that I don't think are random. Like, the whole point of, I think, why people liked me on Twitter when I was in St. Louis was I didn't think of myself as different because I had a blue check. I would just talk to people like I was part of an online community. And Twitter got like, that cool little room got like big and full of strangers. And so for me, like, I've had to be in this constant battle of how do I use the app, you know, from a time standpoint, because it really crushes your productivity, and it's like really bad for your psychology and, you know, your headspace. But also, how am I letting it affect my personality? Even if I'm only on there for an hour, how is that seeping into like how I look at people when I leave Twitter? Because Twitter is not real life, dude.
No,
have you noticed that?
Have
you noticed that? It's not real. Like,
I hope not. Yeah,
it's not real life, dude. Which is good news in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you're on my Mount Rushmore of sports Twitter, though.
Oh, thanks.
I had you, Max Homa. And let's see, I just Mark Titus for sure. I mean, he's like the OG Twitter account. Like, he was on Twitter before anyone was on Twitter. And then if we're talking athletes, I mean, it's tough not to throw Joel Embiid in there. But I mean, as far as Twitter follows, Ryan Russillo is just the funniest. You guys have the exact same sense of humor, though.
That's the problem, is like, sometimes when I read a Russillo tweet, I'm like, man, like, pep it up a little bit, dude. Like, maybe some exclamation marks, or like you could capitalize something, or, you know,
it's
like,
so sarcastic, I feel like.
Bro, like, so dry. And I'm like, that's you, man. So maybe you should consider that when you're sending a tweet and you're mad at people that they don't get it, that they think you're serious all the time, or like that you're not dry as fuck. And that's just the way I am.
Why do you think people still take Skip Bayless seriously?
That's a great question. This interview has been great, but that's the best question. That's the question Hey, listen, man. The most amazing thing, I just said this yesterday. God bless him, because he's good at his job. Okay.
Yeah.
I said this on the pod yesterday. The easiest thing about being a troll is the anonymity. Like, nobody knows who you are. You just live to piss people off on the internet. But you don't get the anonymity with Skip. Now, I know he's like compensated like a king, but I don't know if I could do that for a living. I don't know if I could just fire that, like, hey, that half court shot sucked tweet off, and then just be like, I have to pretend like I'm serious, because he doesn't believe that, does he?
No, I would be hard pressed.
He's a pretty smart guy. I mean, it's like he's not unintelligent, that's for sure.
How do you do that? How do you? That's the thing, and shortcoming of mine, I guess, is I cannot play the game very well. You know what I mean?
Maybe he doesn't sleep at night. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, it's impressive. Yeah. I'm not down in Skip. I'm just saying, I could not do it. Not for
wasn't a huge
amount of money.
Skip guy. After that Dak stuff, I didn't love that from Skip Bayless.
Oh my God, dude!
Just kind of.
What did he say? What did he say again?
Just downplayed his like depression and anxiety. I mean, after his brother passed away, it was just like, come on, man. Like, even if you're doing this for engagement, and even if you're doing this for clicks, it's like there's a line.
That's the point. Like, okay, the other stuff I'm like harmless to downplay a buzzer beater.
Sure.
Okay, it's a shitty opinion, but it's a sports opinion, which we do get
Right.
too bad about. Like if a guy has a bad sports opinion, it's like a personal, slight.
Correct.
But that thing, when he waded into those waters, I was kind of like, okay, you're wading into bad guy waters. Like the other stuff, like, okay, but that's fucked up.
Yeah. No, I really hated that. But yeah, I mean, again, he's good at his job, and there's a reason he gets paid.
He gets paid a lot of money. Yeah,
Cash
a lot
money.
of money.
Cash
Yeah.
money.
All right, guys, we've gotten to the point of the interview where Chris, you posed this on Twitter the other day. Top 5 cereals, and this is where it gets serious.
So you guys got to read back to me the backstory of this. You mentioned Titus. This is funny because the backstory is that Titus. Okay, there was a 15-2. Oral Roberts beat Ohio State, and I was watching Titus's live stream, and I was just dancing on his grave. And that's what March is about, right? Like it's just about dancing on each other's graves. And it hit me about midnight that night, like kind of, that moment in Dumb and Dumber when he realizes the toilet's broken and the music comes on and they zoom in on him. That's how I felt when I realized at midnight that we would probably lose to Ohio the next day. And I've been just dancing on graves all day. And it is like, it's going to make it so easy for people to dunk on me. So when it happened, I was prepared. I diverted people's attention away from Virginia losing to Ohio. And I said, hey, anybody want to rank cereals? Because I know people love to rank fucking cereals. Okay. Well, guess what? It worked so well that people forgot about Virginia. And it worked so well that even the people like Mark Titus, who wanted to dunk on me and dance on my grave, and he would have been founded in doing so, had to respect what I was doing. In fact, he texted me that night and he goes, I am amazed at what you just did. Like, big ups to you for what you just did. I don't even remember what I ranked him. You got to tell me what I ranked 1 through 5, because I was just doing it to get people off my back.
Yeah, what is it off the top of your head then? Give me 1 through 5.
Fuck, dude. I've had second thoughts. I know I had Fruit Loops on there because Fruit Loops can actually change the flavor of the milk, which is just, that's otherworldly.
That's what you look for in cereal. That's what I look for in cereal.
I want to, like, if drinking the milk isn't just like an experience, I'm not eating the cereal. Like, there's no point. It's not indulging yourself. So Fruit Loops or Fruity Pebbles. I don't know which one.
I had Pebbles in mine.
Yes.
Okay. And you guys make a compelling argument. I could be totally swayed on that.
Brent, what's your number 1?
Apple Jacks.
It's in my list. Frosted Flakes are on my list. I put grape nuts in there for health, guys. You got to stay regular. I
like Raisin Bran.
Yeah, okay. Well, just whatever you got to do, just work. Raisin Bran has about 7 pounds of sugar in it now.
Oh,
you probably didn't look at that, did you? Do you know how much sugar is in Raisin Bran?
I'm not a retired athlete, Chris.
You're even worse, like genetically. You got to watch your sugar, man. You're young, but like watch, look at the side of that Raisin Bran box, man.
I'm in the prime of my recreational golf career.
He's a corporate worker now.
What's your handicap?
So numerically, I'm at a 12. It's probably not quite as good, but if it was up to me, I would just move to Scottsdale and just do this thing full time.
Waste management. You're right.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I could see you in Scottsdale, bro.
You think I would give off a Scottsdale vibe?
I think you'd live a good life in Scottsdale. I think you'd enjoy it. I think Scottsdale's a good time, man.
It's a great time. I appreciate that. So
it's very eye-opening.
Why do you hate Mark Wahlberg, man?
Okay, yeah, I saw that's funny.
That's when I started chirping you, because I was like, dude, there's no
because the other guys.
Yes, that's me.
Congratulations on somehow like being somebody that I look really favorably upon on the internet and being such a defender of the other guys, because you're overcoming, like, you threw a pick the first play and you're still one of my favorite dudes on Twitter. So the pick is that the other guys is a funny movie at times, but Mark Wahlberg ruins it. And it's not my sense of humor. The way he delivers his lines in that movie, it's so over the top. He's not funny to me. He left the Super Bowl early when I was on the Patriots and said it was like his kids or something, but he left the Super Bowl early. It's okay, Mark. It's fair. I'm just not into the other guys.
Seems like there's some personal beef there.
No, it had nothing to do with the Super Bowl. I hated the other guys long before. The dinner table scene is amazing, but that's because Will Ferrell's
the lion and the tuna scene.
I don't remember. I've only seen it once, and I blacked it out. I did the Men in Black thing to myself. I just went
the brainwash,
so I forget it.
So would you just hate every Mark Wahlberg role?
No, read me some Mark Wahlberg movies, and I'll tell you if I like them. Because there's got to be a couple of them. I want to be fair to Mark Wahlberg, dude.
Invincible. He played for the Eagles.
Never seen it.
Okay.
Really?
I'm a
Mark Wahlberg keeping me away.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Plus, I know the real Vince Papali, man. I know the real Vince.
Yeah, but you're well connected in that area.
I don't want Mark Wahlberg to sully it for me.
So, okay.
Shooter's okay.
Yeah, Shooter's a good.
What's The Departed or whatever the most popular movie ever is. Yeah, there's a couple.
Did you laugh at Ted?
A couple times. I did. I didn't. He didn't bother me in that movie as much.
You don't seem like an Entourage guy. The creator of Entourage.
Listen, I definitely liked the guys in Entourage, but I never really watched Entourage. I wasn't big into that.
I just kind of thought that was a slam dunk that you.
My sense of humor is weird and dry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to find something funny. Comedies, I have a hard time. I'm hard on them.
But my Twitter account does it for you.
Well, yeah. The fact is, I forgot it was toast, but just the fact that you put something on Byron Maxwell's head, and it took me a month of interacting with you to realize exactly what it was, and then I forgot it was toast. But it's legendary.
It got me. That account literally got me to the Arnold Palmer Invitational because Max Homa gave me tickets through the Byron account.
Did he really?
Yeah.
And he's coming on the show.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great, dude.
Brent's just slinging me guests, man. It's insane.
This account's it's I literally made it 2 years ago. Didn't really use it up until I want to say really the pandemic because I just got bored. I was chilling all the time. But then
she's just chilling all the time. That's why I love Brent. Brent's chilling all the time. Never grow up, Brent. This shit sucks. You can't chill. We don't chill any of the time.
Yeah, but you're a father.
Yeah, I'm a dad. I'm a dad of 2 kids and a young dog, dude. I don't sleep.
I'm a 24-year-old in software sales. I chill all the time.
That's pretty awesome.
Last thing, guys. All right, Chris, this question is on behalf of our friends and partners at Friday Beers. Who was a teammate that you had that surprised you of their ability to handle a night out well?
Oh, man. Listen, man, my dog, Sam Bradford, who takes a lot of undue shit for having bad knees. I mean, golly, some fans are like, if you just could have controlled that. I'm like, dude, the guy was born with bad knees. He can put them back. And if I had to build a starting 5 of former teammates, Sam's on there. And Sam also doesn't really change. He's just even keeled the whole time. It's pretty impressive. So I would say Sam's a surprise there.
How many beers should Lane Johnson drink in one sitting?
You know what? Me and Lane didn't get drunk that much. We really didn't. And I didn't get drunk. If I got drunk, I got drunk with Bo and and Selleck and Kelsey. Now, Kelsey, I've gotten drunk with a good bit. Yeah. Kelsey can put him back, just how you would think.
Yeah. I could imagine with him. Yeah, I would guess. I read Nick Foles' book, and he was basically he said he went to the Super Bowl party for an hour and just bounced.
Oh, Nick?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Nick's legitimately a perfect human. You know, like
the shrine, dude. You made a shrine.
I made a shrine, which was evidently the shrine said, I can't stand Carson Wentz or something. But
yeah, dude. Why are you hating on my dog Carson?
I know.
He's not your dog anymore.
Yeah. And now I'm are you rooting? Let me ask you this. If you like Carson, are you rooting for him? Because that fucks up y'all's draft pick.
I'm rooting for look, I don't want him to get hurt. I think he's a great guy. Yeah. So here's how I look.
You just went off on a tangent.
I just turned it right back on him.
Yeah.
So I mean, here's how I look at this. With every report of Howie Roseman that comes up of him having some kind of beef with whether it's Ertz, whether it's Lane Johnson, whether it's someone in the organization, I'm always like, yeah, whatever, Howie sucks. But then with Carson, it's like, for some reason, I was like, why do I side with Howie in this particular scenario? And then that got me thinking, you know what? I'm now Team Carson. Good for him to get out of the building.
It's just like, man, listen, it wasn't going to turn around the way it is. I mean, it just wasn't. And so, and as much as you know, if you've had as a fan like years invested in watching him and that sort of thing, you can still watch him and pull for him. I mean, I know it didn't end. Like, I think people took a lot of things personal from Carson that weren't personal towards fans of the city. And that's the thing is, like, football players do not view the organization and the city the same. Like, and I'm not talking about Philly. I'm talking about like any place you play. Like, you don't view those two entities as one. They can be very different. You know, just because Philly, the city will always be like, if a player ever complains about playing in Philly, I'm like, you're fucking crazy. But if you complain about the organization, well, that's up to the organization to keep that standard up. And so if Carson had an issue with a coach or with the front office, it's happened to me. And because people like me, or because you didn't know about it, you know, I've done things like behind closed doors and said things to front office people and asked for things that you would probably say, oh, Chris is selfish or that sort of thing. It just didn't get out. I'm not a quarterback.
Is there truth to like players who just can't handle Philadelphia at all? People said that about Aguilar, but I mean, he obviously needed to get out too.
I just think Nelly, with Nelly, man, Nelly's a really good player, and he's one of my favorite teammates because like nobody outworks him. And like in that way, it's incredible that it's not looked at as it was like a perfect marriage, because he had like the Philly work ethic. But it's a very mental position. And I know that like, and this isn't just Philly, it could have been any city he was in. And I can tell you, when you're playing bad on a team, you want out and you want a fresh start. I just think it got to the point where he just needed a new uniform. And I think there are some people that aren't as good fits in Philly, like, you know, personality wise, and they can't take the heat. But the people that can, it's the greatest thing ever. So
as you're experiencing, as your Phillies, as Bryce Harper, you know, you feel like he's I'm
a big Kutch fan. I'm a big Kutch fan, so I'm really excited about getting up there and seeing some games. They play tonight, right? 5-0, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
People listen to the pod. They probably already know the Phils might be 5-0.
They might be.
They might be. That's Chris Long. Chris, appreciate the time today, my man. That was a lot of fun.
Dude, it's great catching up with you guys. I'll see you soon.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you, man.
Thanks for everything. Thanks for 2017 as well. Appreciate that one.
Dude, hey, my pleasure. Thank you guys.
That's Chris Long.
See you.